Had last week. I would like to thank each and every one of you who participated last week. We got great response from each one of you, and a lot of feedbacks as well. So in fact, we urge you to come up with your feedbacks and ideas and share your thoughts about the events which we are doing. And we also request you to share the same with your friends. We want more participants, so that's more encouraging for us. And this is one initiative which we want to take it very seriously from Camphor Learning Academy, and it would encourage all of us if you could participate in large numbers. So that's the only request what we have. And again, since it's a continuation of the previous session, as you're all aware, today's topic is more about business continuity plan. And we have the same speaker, Mr. Suresh. He's a veteran, and he has a lot of experience in this field. So not before that, before we could take the session, I just would like to, convey a message. I think a lot of people are aware of it. This message was there in the groups, a lot of groups as well. It's very sad to say that, we have lost our key person who's also a member of the current committee of Camphor, Mr. Amrut Nath. We got to know him very closely in the last couple of months since the AGM and the elections, and that's when we started working together with him. A great gentleman, and he fought pretty hard, but very sad to say that he's no more with us. We're going to lose him. I mean, lose his presence, and it's very sad, and there are no words to express his loss, basically. So in fact, in his for his loss, we request all of you to observe a minute of silence and just pray for him. Yeah, thank you. Thank you all. So I request Mr. Suresh to take over the session. Let's try to make it more interactive and informative. So over to you, sir. Sir, you have been muted, so I request you to just unmute yourself.
Right. Hope you are able to listen me now. My voice is clear.
Yes, yes.
Thank you, Tejas, for your nice introduction, and thank you, Camphor team, for again having me here in continuation with the estate planning which we did last week. And I thank most of you would have attended this. I hope you got get some value out of this last event. So we conducted a poll. How many of you had estate planning? Almost 80% of the participants have responded that you don't have an estate plan. This is for the personal assets. Besides personal assets, many of us also have other important assets, that is business asset. In fact, we are all in the business. When we say business, it need not be always offering some goods. Even the services, what you are offering is a business.
Sanjay?
Imagine if many of them don't have any plan. Okay. So most of us doesn't have any plans for the inheritance of the personal assets. Then it is seldom, very few businessmen have a plan for the succession of their business. And also the assets that is owned by the business.
Okay.
So this is what we thought today. We will discuss a few points or succession to one's business, okay, which goes well in continuation of the estate planning. This webinar will be useful to all of those who wish to have a succession to their business, who would have plans or who would like to plan that their business should continue beyond their lifetime. Let me see how many of you have actually have a desire or thought to continue your business. I request Vanita just to have a poll. How many of the participants would like to continue to have a succession plan for their business?
Sure, sir. I'm launching it.
We have reached 68% of the participants have voted. That is at least 80%, if not 100%.
Yeah, around 90 participants are there now.
Okay, I'm looking at number of participants
around 65.
who are voting.
Yeah, sir. So can we end the poll?
Another 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Yes. Okay. Only 2 participants said no, they don't want to continue their business post their life. Absolutely, they have their own reasons. But the majority of them, 97% of the participants said they would like to continue their MFD business post their life. Thank you, Vanita. We will close this. Then this webinar is for all these 97% of the people who have a plan or who want to have a plan for the continuation of their business. Let us go into it. I have dealt with many business people. These business people, some of them are doing business as a proprietorship. Some of them are doing as a partners or partnership business. And there are a few who are doing business as a private limited company. So each of these business entities has its own challenges in making a succession plan for the ownership of the business. There are 2 aspects we have to look into it here. One is transfer of ownership or inheritance of ownership. And number 2 is the succession to the business operations. In fact, at 2:15, I got a message from one of my friend, industry friend who's an advisor. He lost his brother-in-law, wife's brother, who has a business, pharmaceutical business. Dealership is All India Super Stock is something for a pharmaceutical company. Turnover is around 25 to 30 crores per annum. And he's doing business as a proprietor. He left behind his mother, wife, and son and daughter. And relationship among the family members is not good. And there is no succession plan for this business. And the family members are clueless now. What will happen to this business? Who has the right to run this business? Now they are looking, going helter-skelter to know who has the rights and who can take hold. Imagine 30-40 crores turnover. Even the net profit, if you take around 8 to 10%, is a substantial amount. So similarly, the case with us also. So whatever revenues we are generating out of the business, what we do as a mutual fund distributors, okay, this is the major income for the family on which our day-to-day expenses and other financial goals depend upon. Unfortunately, our business as an advisor or mutual fund distributors is different from other kinds of business. Suppose you have a fancy store selling some fancy items. It is very easy for the family members to take over the business. All you have to do is make some family member to sit there. All they should know that what is the price of each commodity or product to sell. There is no need to have any specialized knowledge. But advisory business is different from these kind of businesses. So an advisor should have a specialized knowledge to continue in this business. So succession planning for the advisory business goes beyond the normal succession planning what we do for the ordinary business. Now you all are created a AUM with a hard work for over 10, 15, 20 years. The AUM could be anything 50 crores, 100 crores, or whatever it is. Ultimately, the income what you earn as a commissions from the mutual fund distribution is a major revenue for you and your family, and they depend upon this income. Unfortunately, something happens to the advisor. We have seen now Amritnath. Okay, something happens to like this. What happens to the income of this advisor? What happens to the commission that is payable to the advisor? Again, in mutual fund distribution, we have a set of people who are doing business as an individual. I call them as a proprietor. Everything is managed by them in their name. ARN is held in the name of the individual. Similarly, we also have MFDs where ARN is in the name of a partnership firm. And also we have ARNs in the name of a private limited company. So each of these entity again has to follow different succession plan. And more challenging is those people who have ARN in the name of the individual. If I am an individual mutual fund distributor, I held ARN in my personal name. Tomorrow, if I am not around, we all aware as advisors in the financial products that death is uncertain. But I can say timing of death is uncertain, or death is certain. Okay. If such event happens, what will happen to the commissions on the AUM what I have generated or what I have created? Right. Yeah. Maybe few people know about it, or most of them know about it. In case of mutual fund distribution, you have a provision to make a nomination as an individual. So you can nominate a family member or any other person who is entitled to receive the trial commission on the AUM which you have created or generated. But again here, two aspects. This trial commission will be paid to the nominee only when the investor continues to stay invested. If the investor moves out or he sells these folios and invests through some other medium, so when the AUM is withdrawn, the commissions also will stop. Right? So there is a need to continue the business even beyond the life of the advisors. Then in such case, just making a nomination is not sufficient. The nominee should have certain qualifications to eligible to become a MFD, like you have qualifications to become an MFD. By simply making a nomination does not give a right to continue as MFD. But the nominee has an aptitude to clear the certification that is required to understand the nuances of the business, to understand various types of products, whether the nominee has that kind of aptitude. And then second one is attitude. That the nominee is interested to continue the business, whether the nominee is interested to interact with the clients, okay, whether the nominee is interested to liaison with the other professionals in the market, AMCs, what kind of attitude the nominee has. So it is not so easy to find both these qualities, aptitude and attitude, in every family, right? Yeah, there are people who have an aptitude, they have a capacity to know, learn, but they don't have an attitude. They have different ideas. When I say attitude, it's not that they are negative. Their ideas are different. They want to do something different, professional, pursue the different business. Other member may have an attitude to do the business, but not capable of understanding the mutual funds business. Though that person has attitude, but doesn't have an aptitude to learn. So in such case, what is alternative we have? Yeah, you find a person, a perfect person in the family who has an attitude, who has an aptitude to continue a business. You can nominate such person and that business will continue. Could be there could be some ups and downs for some time, but ultimately business will continue. If the family member is not interested or they doesn't have a skills, then what is the next alternative? This is what you need to think as a mutual fund distributors. So I was discussing with some of the advisors. So other option could be to offer your business to some other advisor who can buy your business upright. The challenges come now. how do you value this business? Yeah, there are some benchmarks in the market, but the benchmark what works for me may not work for everyone. Right? Shall I pay the value of the business on the basis of the AUM? Let's say advisor is holding a 50 crore AUM. Shall I take these 50 crores as a base to compute the value of the business? Or shall I compute the value of business on the basis of the commissions that the advisor is earning? Because commissions are different. I may have an AUM of 50 crores. Out of 50 crores, 40 crores is debt fund and 10 crores is equity fund, where the commission rates differ. Whereas other advisor has same 50 crore AUM, out of the 40 crores is equity, 10 crores is debt. The commission earned by second advisor is different. In both the cases, AUM is the same, 50 crore. Right? Shall we also look at the client base? Advisor A, 50 crore AUM, 100 clients. Advisor B, 50 crore AUM, 500 clients. Again, the risk and reward. 100 clients, your operation costs, operational expenses will be less, but the business is concentrated. Say 50 crores you're getting from 500 clients, business is spread, but operational cost is more. So what kind of attitude do you have to run the business? How much of the client's investments is invested with the particular advisor? Okay. If I have 100 rupees to invest, it is very unlikely that all these 100 rupees I'll invest to only one advisor. I would have spread my investment to different advisors. In such case, there is a risk of poaching or taking away by the surviving advisor. So all these factors play an important role in determining the value of the business. Ultimately, you are the person in the best position to do this valuation and give some value to your business. Perhaps, if necessary, you can take the help of other professionals in the market. But now question comes, how many of you have done the nomination on your business? How many of you have identified the successor for your business? How many of you are making an effort to groom the advisor, to groom or train your nominee so that the business continues? How many clients of you have assigned to nominee whereby they can interact with the clients? In fact, there is something which is shocking is that ARN is held in the name of the spouse, let us say wife, but entire activity is done by the husband. And wife doesn't know anything about this business. And something happens to the husband, gone, entire business is gone. Even this, I've come across 2-3 incidents. Okay. So this is what you as an advisor need to think to have a succession plan. I think, Bharita, you have shared some time back when we were discussing about succession planning, that one AMC has shared a data with you that a number of advisors who have made a nomination have not made a nomination. Just can you share the details?
Exactly. It is a very small AMC. And given the small AMC, just they said they have around 70 advisors in Bangalore who have not nominated in their ARN form. So it's such a small AMC. When a small AMC says 70 numbers only in Bangalore have not nominated, we'll have to think of others in the entire India, as which is how many have not done this.
So friends, please think about making a nomination to your business. At least whatever commissions are due to you, that can go to your family. Yeah, second factor is succession to the business. Okay. So it's very easy to say, okay, I'll appoint my wife as a nominee even to succeed the business. My wife will get the ARN and she will continue the business. But in practice, it is not so easy. We all have undergone the difficulties of paying the certification to get the ARN. Okay. We all are going through the various challenging times and difficult times in managing our business. We all are making a lot of efforts to understand the developments that are happening in the mutual fund industry, which is quite dynamic and changing. New kind of products, risk, return, reward. I don't think the family members or every member of the family will be able to understand all these nuances of mutual funds. So there is a need to groom the nominee. It doesn't happen just on the death of the advisor. Okay. I would like to know some feedback from any of the members who are doing business as an individual, and did they made any plans so that it will be useful to all the participants. Anyone has done the business?
I think Mr. Suresh, you can share your experience. I mean, sorry, Mr. Ramesh Biswas, you can share your experience since you
Ramesh,
have made some effort. Yeah.
Yeah, Ramesh, you are on mute.
You need to unmute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, good evening, everyone. When we are talking about the succession is such an important part of our professional life, but some of us, we miss doing that. Some of us, we don't even plan that we have to make a succession after your business, it's done. Many of us really think that succession is not really important, that we should make after us is a succession. So in my view, if you look at it, succession is a must for all MDs, MDFs, irrespective. Sorry, I can't hear properly. I'll just take this, yeah. Successor is the most, for all the MFDs, irrespective of their age. Some MFD might think that, they have a minor children so that they cannot have a succession plan. It's wrong, actually. If you look at the year of hard work, as Mr. Suresh was explaining, we would have put efforts of something like 10, 15, 20 years to acquire our AUM, between 50, 100, 200 or 300 crores, but we don't have a succession. Okay. So that is really a very important aspect as far as the successor is concerned. So if you look at my story, I have made my daughter Sapna, who's finished her MBA, and I have made her as my successor after my business, or I would say she started along with me itself, 5 years back. And little bit background about my daughter Sapna is she finished her MBA, and she joined me 5 years back, and she's also a trainer, and she, it's so nice that she joined me 5 years back, and she's taken up, and she's helping in my business now. So if you look at her AUM itself, she's close to 100 crores now, and out of that, I would say 70 to 75 or 80 crores she has done a mutual fund business. And other part, she will have done it in non-MF business of something like other 20, 25 crores. Okay. So in fact, what we have done is we have introduced, in fact, since I handle some of the HNI clients in Bangalore, I have introduced all my clients to her. And what happens when you introduce your own family members, the clients tend to, trust the family members better than the, employees. So in that perspect, we still gain the confidence from the investors. And it is so nice to, introduce to all our clients. So I would say the succession plan for everyone, especially in a COVID situation or so much uncertainty in life, everyone should have a, succession plan. So I would strongly recommend all MFDs to have a succession plan, while they're alive itself, so that, the businesses can take over and they can, do their businesses continuously. And the other aspect I just want to touch upon is estate planning. If you look at me, in fact, I had been in this industry for quite some time, but I started doing this, estate planning from 2013-14 itself. I would say that is it's something like I took it as a will drive for all my clients. Okay, so
Ramesh, Ramesh, can you excuse me? Ramesh, can you excuse me?
Yeah.
Let us focus on the nomination part for succession of the business. We'll come to the estate planning in the second session. I'm sorry for that. Okay, I don't want to digress from this so that we have a continuation of our discussion. Okay.
Sure,
so I'm very happy that you have a nomination, you have a succession plan for your business. You made your daughter to succeed your business, and she's there in the system for last 5 years. And you've introduced your daughter to your HNI clients, few of your clients, okay, where she can manage even 70% of AUM without your support, right? So this is what is work done by Mr. Ramesh for the benefit of all the participants here. So he has groomed the nominee or successor over a 5-year period. Maybe for him, the positive side is that his nominee is a management graduate. Okay, at least they know some basics of how to do the business. But every advisor may not have this kind of strong wicket or a good wicket to succeed or hire from their family members. If this is what Ramesh has done, having a very good wicket or platform, imagine the advisors who doesn't have this kind of environment, what kind of efforts you have to make to have a success plan for your business. That is what I would like to bring to your notice. Thank you, Ramesh, for sharing.
Suresh, just wanted to chip in. Uma Rani has said that the similar thing. She's also trained her daughter, who is an engineer, and we have Dr. Gautam, who has raised his hand. Maybe he wants to share.
Please allow him.
Yeah, I think he needs to be unmuted.
Sarika?
Yeah, I'll do. Just give me a minute. Dr. Gautam? Yeah, please go ahead.
Am I audible?
Yes,
you're audible.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, let me be very brief. I'll make it in 3 pages.
Yes.
This
nomination,
this nomination is a very important part because if I look back into my life, when my father passed away very early, we had a hell of a lot of problems. The law today has changed, but I had to go and get estate duty clearance and all that stuff. It took me 3 years. Today, I do it for my clients in less than 3 months. This is one part of it. Second, the nomination I made, initially when I started this business in favor of my wife, basically because my son was still studying. Now I have trained him. He's around 33, 34. I have trained him and my daughter-in-law both because my son is a chemical engineer and my daughter-in-law is a management graduate. I have put them on track to get certified in this. But as of now, my wife continues to be the nominee in this. Once they get certified, I will change the nomination in their favor. This is my succession plan, which I have very clearly. I have got them enthused into the business because they have their own investments. I have also taught them stock investing, which I have been doing well over 45 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gautam, for being very brief. Again, in your case, the positive point is that you have well-informed, educated family members who are postgraduates or graduates who can understand the mutual fund business. That's what I call aptitude. Okay. So what is the requirements for a nominee to succeed the business, right? Thank you, Dr. Gautam. But other alternative, please.
The thing is that being a solopreneur, I think that we need to take a word from Mr. Swami as well. Mr. Swami, over to you because you are a solopreneur.
Yes.
Would you like to add some more points of
yes.
points from Mr. Ramesh?
And majority of the IFAs in Karnataka, not only in Karnataka, in other sites also, in other parts of the countries also, are independent mutual fund distributors. What they do, usually we don't take it seriously. We talk of risk planning, risk management. We take it seriously, the term plan. Actually, along with term plan, estate planning, after going through the last session, I realized that it's very important. We need to take it very seriously, the term plan. The thing is that it takes time. First to nomination is a must. There is no second thought regarding that. But apart from nomination, what we have to do is that identifying the successor for the business. And since it needs time to train them, so it's better to do it in advance. So it's mandatory so that we can nomination, as per the nomination, actually we have to check it out. We need to check it out with all AMCs, whether our nomination is in order, the first thing after this session. And the second thing, identifying the successor. That is a must because in our most of the smaller towns, most of the IFAs, more than 90%, we do not have this. We might have done a nomination, but other things, we have not taken it seriously. And in fact, we are not speaking to our clients also, to best of my knowledge.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Suranjam, for sharing your experiences. So I was discussing with some other advisors also how to address this business succession plan, especially when the business is as a solopreneur. Yeah, one is making a nomination. We have understood the pros and cons and the requirements of the nominee to continue the business. But there are certain cases we come across. There are good family members who can succeed in the business, but for various reasons, they cannot be involved in the business from now. Okay. They need some time to engage in the business. They have to be groomed over a period of time. So till then, if something happens to the advisor, there is a need that some other advisor or professional in the market support the nominee of the deceased advisor. Okay. So what we call mentorship. Okay. What we call mentorship. So it is not a bad idea that each one of you who are doing business as an individual or a solopreneur, identify another advisor with whom we have a good relationship. It is also a good idea to introduce such advisors to the family members, and you can make this advisor as a mentor if something happens to him, so that such advisor will handhold your family members or a nominee till they take off. Okay. Hope it makes some sense to having a mentor. I'm just sharing my experiences with the advisors. There are other group of advisors who have a plans now, who are now putting handholding them in executing their plan. They're all solopreneurs. They don't have their own office. Okay, most of the times they work from the AMC places. Even client meeting sometimes happens at AMC offices, but they don't have a back office support. Okay, it is very costly and expensive for everyone to have a back office support, and you need to have offer a place to them to come every day. Then you need to have infrastructure, laptop, internet, mobile, and so on. Okay, but the workload will not be there for that employee throughout the day. So other challenge today, the individual advisors are facing in continuation of business is doing a lot of study or research on the schemes of the mutual funds. So today, mostly we depend upon the information shared by the AMCs or which is available in the public, right? Can we have a common infrastructure, 4 or 5 entrepreneurs together or advisors together? 4 or 5, just I took a numbers. It could be anything. Too many will again make it difficult. You would have come across this concept with the doctors and the chartered accountants. So in any city, you find the doctors polyclinic. Okay, maybe around 500 square feet of space. You have around 5-6 cabins there, and a common receptionist, and there is some back office to do some basic tests, bed tests, or something. And this staff at the back end and front end is common for all the doctors, right? Can't we mutual fund advisors have this kind of setup? If 5 advisors together, they can have a 500 square feet office space. You make your own cabins, you make your own business. There will be one common discussion room. Okay, so clients can be called there, and these advisors can be support to each other. And everybody will have their own business independently. This is another idea. I don't know how it works. We need to look into it. It all depends upon the relationship between the people. But this model is successfully running with other professionals, which require knowledge and skills. There are many chartered accountants who are running the business like this. 4 or 5 chartered accountants together, they run the business, and each of the CA will have their clients independently. But if something happens to one CA, the other CA will take over.
So why not we have a partnership instead? So how about a partnership company in that case?
See, what happens is that partnership, when you do look into it, the resources are pooled now. It is not owned by the individual. The clients are not owned by the individual. The clients are owned by the entity.
I think we can take few words from Tejas itself.
Tejas, yeah.
Running a partnership model.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tejas, you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry, I'm audible, I guess. So,
Yes.
Thank you so much. And thanks, Vanita, for taking up this topic. So I would just like to share my experience, and I also have a question about the business model which we follow. So basically, just to give you a background, I run a partnership firm. We are 3 partners, basically like-minded people. We joined hands together. We thought, we should work together and also share, as you said, a common back office, a technology platform, and a brand by itself. So we have created a brand today, and then we are working from one office. But in fact, what happens is each one of us, all the 3 partners, we have our own set of clients whom we are handling.
Okay.
But because it's a partnership entity and a firm, my clients, even my partners are aware of them. But then, anything, the first touch point or the contact would be myself for my clients. So then in my absence, or if I'm not able to reach out, or, assume that I'm on a vacation or something, then they can always reach up to my office, back office, or my partners will come into play and they will give them any kind of a support if required. So that is a kind of a model which we have been following. But since we're talking about the succession plan, in a partnership firm, there is no concept of nomination. So we cannot really nominate anybody. So, but then in the event of any unforeseen or a kind of an event where we, lose out on any of the partners or things like that. So how does it work? So how do we plan and take things forward?
Right.
So if you can just throw some light on that, it would be great.
There are two things here. When though someone is doing business as a partner, okay. Okay, I have a question to you. You can unmute, Tejas. The ARN, is it held by the partnership firm, or all the three partners have ARN in your individual?
The ARN is held by the partnership firm. It's one ARN for all three of us. One
ARN for all the three.
Yes.
Super. So my another experience when I started doing business succession plan for the business owners, not in the financial service sector, MFDs, I'm talking about their business. Okay. See, your partnership or sharing the partnership firm is also like your personal asset. Okay. Let us say you and me and Vanitha, we three are doing business as a partners. Okay. Let us say I take Srikala also. Before other each have 25% share in the partnership business. Please understand that partnership is an agreement among the people. Now there is agreement among four of us. Okay. And each have contributed 25% of the capital. And the partnership deed is created. Do's and don'ts, bylaws, rules, whatever is to be done. A partnership deed is created. I'm sure you also have a partnership deed.
Yes.
Right. Now, is there any clause in the partnership deed about the succession to the share of the partner when he dies?
No, that's not there. Yeah.
You're bang on it. 10 out of 10 partners, when I raise at this point, none of them have an answer for this question.
Okay.
Sir, it does not just like that flow to the family members, like your personal estates.
Right.
It's a contract between these four people who are the partners. Right? Unfortunately, many of the partnership deeds are silent on this subject.
Right.
Unfortunately, many of the partners, I can say 10 out of 10 partners, they are not aware about the clause in the partnership deed for the succession of the share of the deceased partner. Now, if there is no consensus among the remaining partners, okay, then there is a dispute with the family of the deceased partner. Let us say tomorrow I am not there, you three are not interested to take my family members into the business. Because the understanding may not be the same like how we all had.
Right.
Isn't it? So entire ecosystem of the firm is disturbed now.
Right.
So please revisit those who are doing business as a partnership firm, and you must have a partnership deed. In fact, I've come across many of the people who are doing business as a partnership firm. They're filing the returns as a partnership firm. They don't have a deed at all. It's simply oral understanding. This will continue with this generation. Next generation, there will be a lot of issues. Do you agree with me, Tejas?
Completely agree with you, sir. So what you're trying to say is succession clause should be a part of the partnership deed, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
If it is not in the partnership deed, you can make an addendum to the partnership deed.
Okay. Yeah,
make an addendum. It's only an agreement among the four people. That's it.
Right. It's a very valid point. I think should incorporate this. Yes.
And you can have a MOU otherwise. All the four partners or whatever I am talking, we are all the four partners. Okay. Now, what could be the options there? There could be a clause that the surviving partners will pay his share with some premium or whatever it is to the family of the deceased partner, and remaining three partners will continue the business.
Okay.
This is one option. That is why I asked ARN is held in the individual name or a firm name. This can happen when the ARN is held in the name of the firm.
Right.
Death of one partner does not disturb the trail commissions.
Okay. Right. Yes, it will not disturb the trail commission.
Okay. But there are people who are like my first model, I said, each one will have their independent ARN. but they will have a one common office, support staff, everything. In that case, on the death of one advisor, the trial commission stops.
Right.
Because ARN is held individually there.
Correct.
So these are the pros and cons we have to understand. Okay, coming back to your partnership form. So first thing is that whether the deed allows to continue the nominee of the deceased partner in the business. If so, what is the role of such family member? Again, the same thing applies. Whether the family member will have an aptitude and attitude. Whether he understands the culture of the firm. That is also equally important. Okay, you should not come with a high-mindedness that, oh, I'm an MBA guy, I'm a present generation, you're all the old generation. My thoughts are better than your thoughts. You're doing the same old fashion and try to disturb the entire system.
Right.
It has happened in this one of the partnership from where I'm dealing.
Okay.
Right. So it is very important. Every partnership firm should have their company ethos written up clearly. Do's and don'ts for the partners and their nominees.
Sure.
In such a case, do you mean to say, sir, when you put it in that way, do you mean that the private limited firm is far better? So
that also will come. That also will come to it. I'll address this partnership form because Tejas has raised this issue. Okay. Hope Tejas, you got a point there.
Yes, sir. It's very clear now. Yes.
So that part you have to look into it. Yeah. One advantage with the partnership firm is that trial commissions will continue. Okay. More or less the surviving partners, if they are also involved in this business as a working partners, okay, they'll be able to retain the clients of the deceased partner.
Right.
Okay, maybe here and there 10% or whatever it could be, there could be attrition, but more or less the income flow will continue.
Yeah, and even the services to the clients would continue as it is.
Much of a distance. That's an advantage of the partnership. But the one important aspect as a risk mitigation plan we need to look into it in the succession plan is succession to the share of the deceased partner.
Okay.
Okay. So that part, it all depends upon the agreement.
Right. Sure.
Right.
All right. Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think Vanita raised the private limited company issue. I think both Vanita and me have vested interest. Both of us have, Mr. Suresh, follow the private limited company model.
Okay.
So I just wanted to understand, see, I think whatever you told in Tejas' case, some of it holds good, I presume, for private limited company. So in our own example, I think Vanita can talk about her model later. I have, me and my partner Rupa Shankar, we have a private limited company, and the ARN is in the name of the private limited company.
Okay.
So 14 years ago, in fact, when we were very small also, we went in for this private limited structure simply because we thought private limited, the company will be immortal and commission and everything will come automatically. So is our understanding right? In terms of business continuity, we are kind of covered it because both of us are actively involved in the business. And unlike partners, like our model is not like Tejas where we don't do the business individually, it's done collectively. So our clients, all the clients are aware of both of us, and we have a team of professionals also who are with us. So have we covered all the areas? So I would like to know.
Got it. Okay. So more or less the services to the client, whether a partnership firm or a company, more or less will be the same because you have a team to offer these services. Okay. So continuation is not at risk. Business continuation or retaining the client is not at risk. Okay. But the thing is about the inheritance of the ownership. See, there is a challenge in case of partnership firm. Unless it is very clearly specified about the succession to the partnership, it becomes a disputable. Okay. There could be disagreement among the partners. But in case of a company, the inheritance of the share in the company, the dispute does not arise. Because when you started a company, each one of the person who contributed to the capital of the company, what we call shareholder, they are issued the share certificates.
Yes.
I'm sure you all have got the share certificates stamped by the registrar and duly entered into the ROC books. Again, I've done a lot of estate planning for the clients who have invested in startup companies. Okay, they have a lot of money. They keep investing in startup companies. Simply money is transferred. They say that we are the shareholders, we have contributed to the capital, but they don't have a share certificate.
Yeah.
So why I'm saying, please understand why I'm saying all this is that you also may have a clients like this in these situations. So you as an advisor have a big role to play, significant role to play in creating awareness among your clients who are businessmen, could be as a proprietor or a partner or company. The nature of business can be different, but the succession to ownership is the same everywhere, whatever business they are doing.
So in our case, should we also nominate, like for instance, in the event of anything happening to one of the directors, we are 2 directors. So how does it work? Like, I mean, because I'm a shareholder, my nominee will get it. So is that the understanding?
In the case of private limited company, since you have the shares and there is a provision to make a nomination on these shares.
Yes.
So please ensure that nomination is made.
And this nominee automatically gets the seat on the board.
No, it's not automatic.
Okay.
It's not automatic. Directors are elected by the shareholders.
Okay. So in the event, like considering we are a 2 shareholder company, so in the event of one not being,
do you have the equal share? That's the next question. What is the share of each shareholder?
Yes, equal shares holding.
Equal share. So normally we don't advise to have an equal share with there are 2 people, because when the decision has to be taken, there could be time.
Okay.
The majority wins.
Majority wins. No, see, voting has to happen, isn't it?
Correct.
Voting has to happen at least 51-49. That is in majority of the companies, 51-49.
Oh, okay.
Okay. As long as relationships are good, fine. Now you have done the different dish.
No, and I think at this point I wanted to add, I think like you talked about, see, very often even on the chat box, people are saying, my nominee, I have done the nomination, but my nominee is not interested in this business. I think one of the things, like as Mr. Ramesh Biswas was mentioning, I think we need to create the environment for succession also, apart from doing the legal succession. What do you say?
Yeah, this is required irrespective whether you're a solopreneur or a partnership or a company.
Yes.
You need to groom. You need, but only thing is, in case you're doing as a partnership firm or a company, you have a wider options. Okay, because there is a pool of resources. Okay, there is a scale up of business. You can afford to have the manpower. As an individual with a small AUM, I cannot have a separate office and 1 manpower or 2 people to support me unless I have that kind of AUM. It's like a chicken and hen, which is fast. Or unless I have a AUM, I cannot afford to have. Unless I have some back system, I cannot create scale up my AUM.
True.
It's a challenging. Right. So
Anita,
compared to partnership firm, okay, succession to the shares of the private limited company is simple. All you have to do is make a nomination.
Correct.
Okay. Now let us take specifically, I'm taking your example. We have 50-50.
Yes.
Okay. I don't wish whatever I say it should happen. I'm talking about the other side of the coin.
No.
Let us say if one of you is not there and 50% of your shares goes to your nominee. Okay.
Yes.
Now you have other partner. The other partner is not inclined to have your nominee to come on the board.
On the board, yeah. She has no choice.
Right, what sir says is right. Yeah. I tried doing my succession and business continuity plan and also the legacy creation. So what sir said is right. And so I just wrote a will, and then even in the will, I just did the succession and the business continuity plan. So that what exactly I just want to happen, post my demise is something, I just wrote it there. And apart from that, actually just within the business also, we tried just mentoring someone. We have been mentoring a couple of people who could probably just take over. So because there is no mandate that somebody has to come from family only. And of course, to take care of the MFD business, I mentored my second son. And to take care of the other advisory business, we have a couple of team members who have been reporting to me for long. So one is I thought of the valuation of the company. Other one is I thought of the stability to the investors and the employees. Those who are trusted and just come to us, they should have the uninterrupted kind of service. And even the employees' interest is to be protected. So that's the way I looked at it. And then I just did that. I just went with a private limited kind of model. And also we have been mentoring people since some time, identified, mentored. And I would just suggest those whomsoever is having a private limited company, probably just identify the members and then just mentor them. Again, after a few years, just see to that whether they just stick to your expectations or not. If not, we'll have to just start once again just identifying. If he meets or lives up to your expectations, probably just you could just start writing your succession plan. If not, also you'll have to just Being a private limited company, obviously just you have the nomination option. But this is something that I have just done it. And I felt like one is legacy creation, which is more important. And you talk about the building valuation of a company. So this is what I've just done it for the company.
Thank you, Valtabhai. So ultimately, my understanding is that whether even in case of partnership from a company, one factor which you have to keep in mind is that the successor should understand the ethos of the business, the environment in which the business is running, the mindset of the other directors or the partners. Okay, they should be able to gel with this environment. So it is like bringing a daughter-in-law to your family post-marriage. Compatibility issue arises. Generation difference could be there. Okay. So this is what we have to keep in mind when you select or identify the successor to your business as a partnership firm or a company. I've seen many businesses are now started just because of the succession issue. Right. So in fact, I am helping a family, business family in Hyderabad, 4 brothers. Okay, next generation have to come. 4 brothers have an excellent understanding, but that kind of understanding is not there among their spouses and the children. So now even these 4 brothers, slowly they want to give up. They are also becoming engaged. So we are trying to create a document. It's like do's and don'ts. It's like a constitution of the business. Everybody has to abide by this constitution. Values. In fact, I'm addressing this is more issue, more critical. Even family is a joint family. When you have second and third generation, their aspirations and needs are different. Okay. So these are the points that arises in the succession. So we need to have clearly defined ethos and values of the business. Okay. It should be prominently known. In fact, frequently these points have to be discussed, and everybody should commit themselves to these values and ethos, especially the successors. Got it?
So we have a question. Why should we be taking this estate planning services to our clients? You spoke about the succession planning and the business continuity plan. We do have a lot of questions, probably just a few have been just coming on the chat to just raise the questions. Sri, should we need to take the questions related to that now, or should we need to take the end of
I hope I've addressed the concerns or the aspects which you have to keep in mind for the succession of your business as a solopreneur, partnership, and the company. I hope I made my points clear there. If you are clear about this, if you don't have any more clarifications on this, we can move to the next topic.
Sri, you're on mute.
Yeah. There's one question from Prabhu. He's saying, he's done the nomination and the nominee is not interested in continuing the business. So his understanding is anyway the nominee will get the commission as long as the ARN is valid. So does it solve the problem of nomination?
The nominee will get the commission only on the business which is in force at the time of the advisor. Now, if I were to be one of the clients, suppose the demise of my mutual fund distributor, okay, there are unlikely that I continue to hold the investments. There are chances that some other advisor may come to me, or I feel that there is a need for me to get advice from the professional, then I look for the other advice.
Correct.
Isn't it? So when I move my investments, sell these schemes, and then reinvest through the other advisor, the commission ends there, stops me.
Sir, apart
so
from
it is
the
not the ARN validity. It is as long as the business, your ARN has a business.
AUM, there must be AUM.
Exactly. The AUM, whatever AUM is there. So that is no guarantee that, your investors will. So
even
nomination itself is not going to solve the problem.
Exactly. See, ARN is required to continue the business.
Correct.
ARN is required to continue the business. But to my understanding, ARN is not necessary to receive the trail commissions on the existing AUM. Correct me if I am wrong.
Yeah.
Ramesh, hope you answer for this. Okay. So definitely there is need to have an ARN if the nominee would like to continue the business.
Sir, and again, apart from that, even in case they don't want to nominate, see, let me just tell you, if you put it in the other way, the clients who have trusted and just come to us, their interest should also be protected. So at least for that sake, so even if you don't have a nominee, or even if the next generation doesn't want to continue, at least you will have to do your succession planning so that it'll be handed over to the right person who in turn can take care of the investors. Right? So
you identify the other advisor who can be a mentor or who can be a successor.
So I have one more question from Mr. Vinod Darwarkar. So just he is at Belgaum, and he knows an advisor who passed away recently because of COVID. So he leaves behind a good AM, but there is no one to take care of the business. What best we can do to help the family? He was just 31 when he passed away.
Now, first you have to check whether the nomination is made. In the absence of nomination, I think I don't know how the AMCs will consider to transfer it to other advisors. In the absence of any direction to the AMCs, the AMC cannot indirectly take a decision that, okay, I give all the clients of one advisor to other advisor.
Sir, let me ask this question. See, just let's assume the person is not nominated, but he has left a will. Will that be good enough? Will the mutual fund company be able to accept that?
Will is a supreme succession plan. Could be for business or could be for personal assets. Okay, but it all depends upon how the AMCs look into it. Will is only a direction, my intention. That is what I wish to do with my property assets business after my demise. Okay. In case of personal assets, it's my assets. I have a right to decide. No third party is involved. So everything goes as per my wish. But when you talk about business succession, where there is a relationship with third parties like AMCs and clients, okay, it is something different. You need to have concurrence of the AMCs also. You need to have a concurrence of the clients also to continue within our money, isn't it? Right. In fact, if I am right, even when the nominee takes over, a communication should be sent to all the clients whether they would like to continue the business with the nominee. You need to take a consent of the client if I am right.
Yeah, again, continuing with the same thing, Mr. Vinod is asking, stating that the person who passed away at his 31, he has left a nomination. So, which is his family member? Probably the family member does not know much about the business. That's what I understand. So, in such a case, what is the option that he has got, sir?
No, there's a related.
Yeah, please
just add one more question. So, same person is asking. So, according to him, AMCs will not give the brokerage to the nominee, he's saying, even though there is nomination. But I think that is not right, isn't it? As long as, yeah, you can just clarify that.
I think I've come across the AMC guidelines very clearly that when the nomination is made, AMCs are obliged to give the trial commission as long as the AUM holds good. Okay. Even without ARN. ARN is necessary only if the nominee wishes to continue the business. And onboard the clients are new business or new investments. Right?
And one more thing we want to clarify to all the participants, please keep typing your questions, okay? This is more to be more interactive and more discussion. So your questions will be taken more as a discussion. So a lot of people are thinking that, we'll just open the session and then you can ask questions. It's not like that. As and when you have questions, please keep typing.
Sir, I have a question from Mr. Kumaraswamy. In case of merger of business, so about the advisory business, between the like-minded, say like 3 or 4 MFDs, have we come across basis of on what basis the valuation has been arrived at? Is it purely on the understanding, or is there any
understanding? It is we can talk about so many thumb rules. It is an understanding. That's what I said. Every business is different. So many factors play a role. Okay, your client base, the wallet share of the client, whether it's a goal-based investment or transaction-based. Okay, I want to invest. You simply came, just fill up some documents or facilitated the investment without hand-holding me to reach my goals. So many factors play. Okay, whether what kind of back, there are many solopreneurs, but they have a good, robust back office. Okay, so actually, there are MFDs, solopreneurs, everything they are doing. One person doing all the activities. Okay, so when there is a backup of a office there, okay, as a nominee, if I take over, okay, I can relate to some extent or great extent on the back office to interact with the clients, to touch base with the clients. Because the clients would have interacted with the back office at some time or other.
So related to Mr. Vinod's question, probably he says a family member, that is, there is a nomination in place, but the family member probably may or may not be able to continue. In case they could not continue, we saw a live case, right, recently, where another company, which based on some kind of understanding from the family member, they just went ahead, took over the assets, right? So there is a recent case.
You can take over, or you can have a mentor to guide them if they are interested but don't have a skills. Sometimes mentor can support them, or just find out a buyer for your business. At least you can monetize your work what you have done for so many years. To some extent, provide some wealth to the family.
Sri, is it not time to get into the other?
So one very basic thing what...
Tejas, 1 second, Tejas, please go.
Yeah. So one basic thing what all of us need to understand over here is just not the nomination, which plays a very important role. One needs to look at, business succession beyond nominations.
Absolutely.
Because nomination will only help them to pass on the trail commissions for a limited period of time.
Correct.
But if services are not rendered, then obviously the clients are forced to move out. And once the AUM is lost, then there's no business and there's no trial as well.
Absolutely.
So keeping these two things in mind, I think whether an individual or a partnership firm or any private limited, one needs to have a succession plan or a successor in place and decide well in advance and do a smooth handholding of the clients is what I feel. Am I right, sir?
Absolutely, you're right, Tejas. There is no straight one sentence answer for succession for these kind of businesses. So it's more of understanding each business separately, understanding the attitude and aptitude of the family members, strength of your business, weakness of your business, and then we can select the appropriate plan. Simply, I cannot say this is the best plan for you.
There's a question from Manu. He's saying, which is a good option for MFD succession within the family? AR in the name of partnership, or private limited?
Just now I gave the same statement.
So focus on exactly. And one more is
have interaction one-to-one. It's not simple one sentence. If it is such simple, I don't think we need to meet and discuss for such a long time.
Yeah, I think the structure of your business is only a starting point.
Correct.
Okay, there's much more there.
And
one more is, how do we find out the nomination is done or not? Someone has asked. Is it by registering to AMC or is it by writing to registrar?
Nomination to the AMC.
AMC.
Ultimately, AMCs are paying commissions to you, no?
No, should we do individual AMC or now ID? Does that help?
See, you have an agreement with each and every AMC separately.
AMC. So, okay. Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah. Correct.
So you have to have with every AMC. So tomorrow, whenever you go to AMC, first thing you have to look into is whether I have made an nomination, especially with AMC with whom you have a good investment relationship.
So again, this is applicable to individual.
Yeah, individual.
In a partnership.
See, as long as when ARN is held in the name of the partnership firm or a corporate, death of one partner, death of one director does not affect the trial commission. But the effect is only in the continuation of business, how the new partner or the new shareholder will have a understanding of the business and what role they play in continuation of the values and all. That is a big risk which need to be addressed.
Yeah. So there is a question from Basuti Chatterjee as to just how they could monetize. How do you arrive at the valuation of the company?
I think again we discussed it. Again, there is no simple answer or formula. I can give you like a present value or future value. There are so many things to think. Okay. See, definitely if I wish to give my AUM, let us say for example, today I may have AUM of 50 crores, but these 50 crores are my 100 times. They have a potential where in the future the AUM can go to 100 crores.
Cool.
Isn't it? Even that also I have to discount. Then you have to talk about NPV, not just present value of the future cash flows. Okay, at what rate the AUM can grow? Now, the growth of AUM, again, there are two factors. One is growth in the investment value and new investments.
Yeah.
Again, what is the ratio there? Okay, there is 100% growth in the business over a 5-year period, but the 100% growth has come only through the increase in the value of the existing investments, or there is a new inflows.
Yeah.
Isn't it? All these play a role.
So now it's very clear that succession or the business continuity plan matters a lot, be it to the investors or be it to the family, or obviously just to the successors or to the employees, in whatever way you put it across. So why should we introduce this estate planning or succession planning to our investors? Why should we be taking this service to the investors?
Vanita, before we get on to that topic, I think Suchitra KV and Sucharita has raised her hand. Let them ask a question. And before that, the nomination, where is it reflected? One of the participants himself has typed saying that it is reflected in the monthly progress statement. Yeah, please
Suresh,
go ahead, Sucharita.
I have a question, Suresh. Suppose can I ask this question if I'm audible?
Yeah,
audible.
One thing, Ramesh,
yeah.
Sucharita is waiting already.
Sucharita is waiting, yeah.
We'll take it. Sucharita, can you please go ahead? Can you unmute? Sucharita, can you unmute?
Yeah. Sucharita, can you unmute and talk? Hello.
Okay. Ramesh, can you go ahead?
No, she is on.
See, I just want to know.
No, Sucharita is unmuted, but I think probably it's not audible. Please go ahead.
We will take up Ramesh in the meantime. Yeah, Ramesh.
Yeah. So what happens if AR and older and the nominee, in case of accident, both of them, they die together? Now, I just want to understand, there's no answer for this?
No answer. I don't think AMCs are offering you multiple nominations. You need to check with your AMCs. See, nomination is an agreement with the AMCs. I mean, your relationship is agreement with the AMCs. Okay? So
yeah,
this is a question to be asked to the AMCs.
No, I think we will have to take it forward and make this AMCs and the AMP make a multiple nomination for the MFDs, because that will give a very valued, because see, imagine I'm nominating my wife and we are traveling together, something happens. The entire aim goes on vain, nobody gets anything.
Now, Vanita, you got an answer with Ramesh's statement, why someone should offer estate planning or business succession plan. Suppose apart from nomination, had you made a will, a comprehensive will, forecasting these kind of events and then having a second plan B, plan C in the will, then this should take care of.
That's right. I think Ms. Sujata is...
Isn't it, Ramesh? I hope you got my point.
Yeah, I got your point.
Okay. Sujata, at least your will be a backup point, apart from nomination.
Ms. Sujata Anantharaman, could you please just unmute yourself and talk?
Yeah. Hello. Good evening.
Hi. Good evening.
Yeah. So I have a small question here. The thing is, in case of any the death of the IFA, it becomes, we as CAMFA members and as this IFA fraternity, I think the CAMFA, the organization of the association as such should come forward at least to intimate and to do something, some hand-holding for such of those who don't have a proper succession planning or something in their pipeline. Why can't the association come forward in doing such a some for a work for a noble cause in this regard?
Right. Thank you. Tejas, would you like to answer, or Vanita?
Yeah, Sujata, in fact, thank you so much for raising this question. So
just a moment. Let me complete it. Yeah. Just a moment. The thing is, because not all the families have a kith or kin to take up this, or they are not efficient enough or qualified enough to continue, or they may not be having any issues or anybody like that, something like that. There may be so many a number of reasons. So I feel the association or we as a fraternity should be having something coming up across with like this. Yeah, you can go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. Sujata, in fact, thanks a lot for bringing up this topic. So in fact, myself and Shrikala and a couple of other committee members this morning were having a discussion because we have had a case where one of our committee members, Mr. Amrutnath, passed away, yesterday. And yes. So we had the same thought that as an association, we should approach the family and try to, console them and also try to make them understand how important it is to continue the business and to ensure the continuity of the business, to make sure the family earnings are intact, and also we can try and do something where we can offer some kind of a partnership or some kind of a support in terms of, if they're interested to continue, we can educate them, we can understand how the business works, and then we can handle them for a few months, and then probably we can thereafter they can take over the business. And also that was the first option which we thought of. And to your point where you yourself mentioned that, what if nobody is interested, or if the kids are too small to take over the business and things like that. So there, we have to in fact come up with various options and models where we can offer to the family, make them understand and realize what suits them best, and then probably take things forward. As an association, yeah, it's a very valid point. I think we will consider this very seriously, and with Suresh sir's help and with the committee members' help, I think we will take up this and make it a very serious thing, and we will try to adopt it for sure. Yes.
Yeah, and I also like to add. Yeah. Go ahead, Suresh. Then I will add.
So, okay. This reminds me the present situation of COVID, which we are now into. We all think that government should help, government should do everything. Please understand that ultimately it is in our hands whether to avoid the COVID or to get the COVID, isn't it? Right? But in spite of all the precautions that is taken, if something happens, yeah, we look forward for the support from someone. So similarly, first as an advisors, have you done the work what we need to do for a successful transition? Okay. One is making a nomination. Have the advisors have done the nomination with all the agencies, not one, all the agencies, with whomsoever you are doing the business. Number two, have you introduced any of your colleagues who are active in Kampa, maybe in the business, to your family members, so that there is a trust created between the colleagues and family members? Now, they just saying that now committee is planning to go and meet the family of Mr. Amrutnath and then see how they can help them. If you don't know the family members, first time you are going to them and talking about this, there is still some sort of distance or wall between you and the family members to take it forward. Had the efforts been made by the deceased MFD to introduce, may not be always the committee members, it could be any of the member in the group. In fact, each member should take this as a objective, that they get introduced to one or two family members of the advisors. If you have this, then succession will become easy. Supporting the family members will become easy. That is where we also say that have some get together among the family members.
In fact, Mr. Suresh, that is what exactly I want to know. In fact, the family should know there is Kampa. I think the way we list out the go-to numbers, the way you have bank account, emergency numbers, all mutual fund advisors also should tell who are the other advisors they are in touch. In an emergency, what is the others to be contacted, and Kampa should be right up there in their go-to list.
Absolutely. Yeah, that is also a point. So that's what I said. When there's a direction from the family member itself to approach so-and-so person or the entity,
correct. Yes.
That gives confidence to the family members.
True.
Sure. Thank you. I think we have done this job, Vanita.
Yeah, there is a question from Mr. Irena Gowda. If ARN and nominee both have expired, that is ARN and nominee expired, can children claim the AEM?
So when there is no nominee, it is intestate. It is intestate, no? See, I am the ARN holder. I made my wife as a nominee. That's what Mr. Ramesh has raised this issue. Both the mutual fund distributor who holds the ARN and the nominee, they died in an accident together. So in this case, there is no nomination. It is intestate. Now, if you are an AMC, you are a person who is looking after the distribution of commissions in the AMC. Now, there are 3-4 family members. Now, to whom you have to offer this child commission among the family members. And there are multiple claims by the family members. So AMC, say you go to the court or whatever it is, as per their procedure or the systems, and it creates certain complexities.
So this is also like any other financial asset.
It's also like any other financial. Succession is also any other financial. That's where a bill, that's where again coming back to the question why we should have estate planning. When you make a bill, we can forecast such scenarios and make an alternative plan.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So
sure.
coming back to the question of our earlier MFD, see, today the effort made by Kampa is the first step to bring awareness among all the MFDs. I think already Kampa has taken a step to support the fraternity. Otherwise, this topic would not have been taken by the team. I think already they started the activity. Now, the support of all the members are required to encourage them, and then Kampa can be an example, best example for all the other similar type of entities across the country.
Tejas, actually just with the given questions, right, I think we'll have to just talk to Amphi about it in detail as to just what are the ways actually where the legal heir or the nominee or the transfer could happen. We'll have to just talk to Amphi on the different processes that they basically adopt, and then probably just take it to all the members of CAMFA. Because
I think that's a good idea.
Mr. Hariharan
I think
raised the point stating we'll have to.
Also, before that, Anita, I think there are a lot of questions. People are still asking about, AUM gets transferred. I think we have to make it very clear that AUM, you don't own the AUM. Your clients own the AUM. As long as clients are using that ARN code only, your nominee or you are going to get commission. The moment that stops, so I think focus should be on business continuity. Let's make it very clear. We are getting a lot of questions on the same topic. Yeah,
I have responded privately as well to a couple of people.
Yes.
So I think that it's very clear that succession and business continuity plan matters a lot, given the understanding or given the kind of concern we need to have towards the investor as well, as family. So I have a question, sir. Why should we introduce this estate planning services to our clients? Why should it be done? And if you say just because I shouldn't be asking this question, but still I'm just asking just for others' understanding. Firstly, why should we introduce this estate planning services as an MFD or to our clients? If you say yes, how can we bring the estate planning services maybe just well within the ambit of SEBI? Because SEBI says MFD should not be doing planning, right? So is it MFD should not be just doing, they shouldn't just be charging the investors. They didn't say planning. So over to you, sir.
Yeah, Vanita, one second. See, apart from that, that's right. And how to initiate the dialogue, that's also important. How we should initiate this communication with our client and creating a right platform so that they can understand the seriousness of estate planning.
Yeah. Your first question is why one should offer estate planning to the clients. In fact, I have a written question to this. Why we should not offer? You give me the reasons why we should not offer estate planning. You give me one reason. Why you should not create awareness. If not, you are doing. Why you should not create awareness in your clients to have an estate plan or business succession plan. Why you should not do as an investor. To create awareness. Like how Kampa is doing today to create awareness among all the MFDs. Why can't MFD do the same thing with his clients? Or even any person, though he is not his client, at least when he talks about these topics to the people whom he knows, that helps to gain the relationship or strengthen the relationship with others, which will turn into business. Isn't it? So coming back to your question, it is ultimately your passion in offering services to the clients. Do you want to restrict only to the mutual fund distributions, or you want to go beyond it? That's your interest. Let us take a poll with all the participants. How many of the participants are interested to extend estate planning services to their clients? Now, having understood last week webinar, and this week also we had almost 1 hour. Many of them know about the significance of estate planning and business succession plan. Let us take a feedback from the participants. Having understood these basics, how many of participants are interested to extend this estate planning to their clients or known people? Vanita, can you just get the poll?
Sure, sir. So first is actually just, do you want me to raise as to whom all have nominated? Shall we understand?
No. How many are interested? How many are interested to continue to offer the estate planning to the clients or?
I have launched it, sir. Or are you interested
Yes.
in referring your clients to an estate planner for bill writing and property audit?
Okay. So we have 101 people now as of now on board, 1 or 2 on board. %54% have voted. Can we have more number of people press your button, yes or no? Polling is closed. 95% of the participants, they said they would like to offer. Please share the result. Okay. So I think you got the answer, Vanitha.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And we are
95% of the participants, they're interested to offer estate planning services to their clients. Okay, I don't think we have anything to discuss more there. Yeah, the another point which is raised by Mr. Swami is that how to offer this, isn't it?
That's right.
Just imagine when you started mutual fund business, what made you to offer these services or these mutual funds to your clients? What made you to offer? Your desire, your commitment, your passion, or could be your need to earn, isn't it? Today, if you ask me, I'm in this profession of estate as an estate planner because of my passion. I have many other resources to make money, but I've chosen this because of my passion. That drives me to talk to the people. For someone, it could be a need to make money or to earn money. Nothing wrong with that. We need money to live and to meet our needs. So similarly, whatever has made you to offer mutual fund distribution and mutual fund products to your clients, same reason applies to estate planning also. I don't think most of us know anything about the mutual fund before we took up this business. Am I right? Okay. After taking a decision to become a mutual fund distributor, you started knowing more about mutual funds, equity scheme, debt scheme, liquid fund, guaranteed fund, ETF fund, and whatever it is. I don't think first you had a knowledge about all these things in your academics, and then you have chosen mutual fund by choice, knowing everything. So the first requirement, coming back to Mr. Subramanian Swami's question, the first requirement is your desire and your commitment, your passion. If someone thinks that, okay, I've attended a webinar, I've learned something, I've understood something, and tomorrow I will start offering these, maybe 1 or 2, 3 times you may initiate the discussion, and the kind of questions you get, if you don't have an answer, you will get demotivated. So how you have made efforts again and again and invested your time to understand the nuances of mutual fund business, products, and other aspects. Similarly, you must be committed to learn more and more about the inheritance laws, succession laws. Then you are empowered to offer to the client. What is the requirement? What is the requirement? Right? Yeah. If you have any certifications related to the estate planning, that will help you to penetrate with the clients, because you can demonstrate that you have certain level or standards of knowledge.
The issues with us actually is how to start the communication regarding estate planning. And the second thing, how to get associated with a professional like you so that we can offer quality service.
Fine, sir. I'll come to your first question. How to initiate? That's it. I answered your question already. You remember now,
yes,
go back to your memories.
Yes.
Your first mutual fund client. How did you initiate your discussions about mutual fund? Your first mutual fund client, or first 5 clients. Isn't it?
Yes, yes.
The same thing applies here.
Okay.
Perhaps you got some confidence to talk about mutual funds to the client because there is a backup of AMC. There is a backup relationship manager. Am I right?
Yes, yes.
That gave you confidence to begin with?
Yes.
First 5 clients, 20 clients, or 50 clients, whatever it is, because there is someone to support you, to guide you. And then over a period of time, without anybody's support, you could continue with that. Now, similarly here, to offer estate planning, first of all, you need to have some basic knowledge. Okay, whatever you gain in webinar, perhaps to some extent it is good, but you need to dig more and more and have a confidence to talk to the client. Okay. So you need to interact with the people who are experienced in this field. Okay, who have exposure to n number of clients in different situations, so that when you go to the client, you initiate this kind of discussions. If there is a need to have an advanced discussion, you need to have a relationship manager like AMCs. Perhaps that is where I can play a role.
Okay.
The second answer to your second question.
Okay.
The answer to your second question is that is where I can play a role. I can be your relationship manager to support you at the back end. Right?
So we have one common question again. So this is Mr. Samuel asking, what is SEBI's regulation on estate planning by MFD? Does it come under SEBI purview? So this will answer most of the doubts if we can offer this to our clients or not. So if you could just address this.
Yeah, a disclaimer I am giving, you need to again cross-verify this, whatever statement I am making, but my understanding, what I am sharing. Okay. Yeah, SEBI says that you should not use the word planning. Okay. But is it planning is in general terms or only related to the financial terms? Understand you cannot use the words financial plan. Okay. But you can say some other planning. Isn't it?
Yes.
So please understand what are the SEBI regulations here, number one. And my understanding again here is that, disclaimer already I have given, subject to all the disclaimers. SEBI is connected only with the securities market. Okay. So succession plan doesn't deal with the marketing of securities, sale of securities, or advice to buy securities. In fact, you're helping the client by having an appropriate succession plan in ensuring that all his wealth that is created by investing in the securities goes for the right purpose to the right person among the family members or legal hands. So advice on inheritance is nothing to do with the securities. So these are the two reasons why I say you can use, but you can deliberate on this. You can have opinion from others and then take it. I hope I made that point clear.
Yes, sir.
Is there any specific qualification for practicing estate planning?
Yeah, qualification, I don't say these are all academic qualifications.
Okay.
These are professional qualifications.
Okay.
Okay. I think today the world is moving more towards the professional qualifications, practical approach, than having some qualification offered by a college or any university, where for generations the syllabus or the method of teaching or practice is more or less seen.
Okay.
Okay. And today, world is opening up to the new avenues. Okay. So there are many professional programs like how you have in financial subjects offered by NISM or NSCIT. So similarly, there are some certification programs in estate planning also. AAFM offers one certification program, American Academy of Financial Management. I come across AIWMI also offers a certification program in trust and estate planning. Okay, I think these are the two institutes you can look into it. Apart from that, we have Financial Planning Standards Board, where they have risk planning and estate planning is one module, specialized course. You can have this course, which goes together well, risk planning and estate planning. So these certifications will give you the required knowledge to initiate discussions with the client.
Okay.
But the second one is implementation, execution.
Yes.
That comes with the experience.
Okay.
That comes with the experience. Now you want someone to handle, like we're discussing, you need to have some other advisor to handle your nominee in continuation of business. I can do that handholding for you.
Great. Okay.
And I've been doing this handholding and supporting many of my advisor friends in the industry.
Very nice.
Right.
I think
how to reach, whether it's only for the Bangalore clients or because I'm in Bangalore, or can we offer this to the clients in other places? For estate planning, client can be anywhere. Today, how we are connected over the Zoom or any other virtual media. So similarly, we can also have a discussion with the client.
Yes.
As an advisor now, you are aware how to operate these virtual meeting platforms. Okay. Most of your clients might be aware. Even if client is not aware, you can be with the client and connect together.
Yes, that can be done.
That can be done. Right?
Okay.
In fact, all my most of my meetings are going virtually today.
Yeah, that is the order of the day.
I know I'm busy because of the environment we are in. Yeah, Srikala, you have a question.
Yeah, I think Ms. Pashwati, your question has been answered, which is a credible certification. That is what we have been discussing. Yeah. On inheritance, we have a question. A will needs to be probated in the event of the nominee also not being alive, Mr. Suresh?
Probate of will, the law says that probate of will is mandatory if the will is executed in the cities of Mumbai, Chennai, Kolkata. Or probate is required if the property which is declared in the will is situated in any of these cities. Okay. Now, if the will is not probated, how the AMC will accept the will and then decide to give the benefits to the beneficiary in the will, it is left to the AMC. They have their own internal process. Again, in fact, for last 1 year, I'm attempting to get the information from the AMCs. Still, many are not able to tell because these decisions are taken at the corporate level, at the legal officer, compliance officer, whatever it is. What is the effect of acceptance of AMCs if the will is registered and not registered? There is no clear answer there. Okay. So these are the loopholes. But in spite of that, whatever best we can do, let us do it. Okay. Yeah, if the AMC says that probate is required, then fine. At least you have a will to get the probate. In the absence of will, even you cannot get the probate. Isn't it?
Yes.
So that's what I need to do.
Okay. I think we are coming to almost the closing. I think we'll take this last question. If the ARN holder nominee is 60 years and above, is there an exemption for NISM exam?
I don't think so. I haven't come across the exemption. I think most of you are ARN holders. You must be knowing it, but to my knowledge, I don't think any exception is there because of the age or gender factor. Okay. Yeah, Mr. Gautam Aldipur is saying each AMC has a different approach. Absolutely agree, Mr. Dr. Gautam. This is becoming more challenging. Each AMC has a different process.
But ARN goes mandatory to take over the assets, right? So there it's
exactly.
It's going to be.
I don't think there's any exemption.
Whether he has to take the ARN. No other goal.
Yeah, there is no exception there because of the age of gender.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah, I think we had a wonderful session. So closing remarks, Vanita or Tejas, you want to take it up?
Vanita, you can take it up.
Yeah. You guys can do, right? Thank you so much, sir. And no, I've been listening to you every day, and every day we discuss with you. We keep learning newer things. And I think this session would have just benefited almost all, I believe, because we could just look at the number of participants and still say, yes, it has really benefited, and everybody goes keen on listening to you. And I'm sure actually the way we tried just making it as more interactive by understanding of the different models also would have helped every other person here. So wherever we have not taken the questions, don't assume that we have not checked the questions of yours. We have just made a note of that, and we'll see to that we respond to our activities. And as some of you pointed out, certainly just Tejas actually just at CAMFOR, we'll have to just write to AMFI to just understand more on the process of succession planning, and then probably on the nomination and what are all the kind of uniform guidelines that they have. We could just take it and then we can just try percolating to the members of CAMFOR. With this, actually, we would like to just end the session, and thank you so much, sir.
A few are asking just to have a contact.
About, yeah, exactly. Yeah, please go ahead and share. And also, just wanted to add to people that, you can associate with Mr. Suresh as a business participant or rather an associate, okay, if you're on commercial terms. So you can take it up with him on an individual basis. Some of us are already doing, so he's going to be a business associate if you want to offer to your client.
Yes,
just Suresh, a second. Please go ahead.
Just a second, I'll share my V card. Oh, is it visible, my business card?
Yeah, it's visible. Yes.
It is, sir.
So this is my business card. Those who have asked any qualifications, I have my 3 qualifications there. That's how I am playing. Because of these qualifications, what I've got. So you can take a screenshot of this V card and you can save it with you. My mobile number, my email ID, my brief intro about me, I've given there bit.ly/Suresh, my website address. just take a screenshot. Thank you, Vanitha. Now you can go ahead.
Yeah, sir. With this, we come to an end. And thank you so much for your patient participation. And then it's been very great being with you all, because whomsoever participated in the beginning, almost the same numbers are being maintained. So just in fact, we had one of the highest number of participants to this session.
Thank you.
That shows the kind of interest you have in succession as well as this one. Let's not leave it here. Let's keep these things in mind and let's carry it forward in our profession as well to be successful, to just ensure that we are acting as a fiduciary to our investors and safeguarding their wealth as well as their, what do we say, just as well as actually just our legacy should just carry on. Keep these things in mind and then be safe and then just take care of yourself. Thank you all and thank you, Sages.
Vanitha, before we leave, I would like to have one parting leave, if I am allowed to do that.
Please, sir, go ahead.
This does not apply to the panelists here. Okay. Just to initiate this estate planning, whoever sends a message to, let us say, Vanitha, I hope everyone has Vanitha's mobile number, or otherwise you can take my number. Then, okay, my number is on the screen. Let's see who are still waiting and logged into the webinar. The first 5 respondents to my mobile on WhatsApp, I will offer my estate planning services for their own properties free of charge.
Oh, that's a great offer, sir.
The first five WhatsApp messages what I received, I'll reply to them that you are entitled to get the advice free of charge for your personal estate plan.
Sir, please check. Tejas is texting. Please check.
I'm texting.
I said panelist does not apply.
Not allowed. Correct.
Never mind,
Okay.
sir, but for sure, yeah, I will approach you and I want to implement this succession plan for myself and also for my clients and for my business. Yeah,
Definitely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you
Right.
so much for this offer, sir.
Very nice of you.
So fastest fingers first. So please just
Fastest finger
make
first.
best
Okay.
use of this offer, as well as just I will just request one and all to just make best use of this opportunity by taking the estate planning as one of your value-added service. It need not be simply value-added service, and obviously you are going to be getting the referral bonus as well. So I think that you will have a lot more calls, sir. Your phone will keep buzzing all the time. Thank you so much.
That's true.
Actually, we would like to end the session. Team Camphor, thanks one and all for this participation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great evening. Nice
Yeah.
weekend. Stay safe.
Yes, thank you all of you, and see you next week for another very interesting session. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, we are not going to announce it now, although.
Yeah.
I leave, Vanitha.
Yeah.
Yeah, sir. Yeah, please. We are going to wind up, sir. Yeah. Thank you so much.